Well, good morning, peoples of the earth. You know, the old weatherman is just adamant about the fact that it's going to rain today. All we can do is go give it a try. And if it rains, we have to stop. We can graft in the rain, but we cannot paint in the rain. If we paint that black goop, that asphalt emulsion in the rain, there's a chance that kerosene can wash down into the cambium layer, and that is a big no-no. That will kill the cambium, so you can't take that risk. All right, I'm gonna put a bill in the mail and get on down the road and get busy. Okay, the other day I filmed an old Doodlebug and had a bunch of people tell me I need to bring it home, and a bunch of other people that said they wanted it, but nobody seemed to consider that it was not for sale. So for you guys, here you are. This one is for sale. There's your phone number. And it's pretty cool. And I don't know what it is, but it's a dually. Let's see. Oh, it's Chevrolet. How about that? Alrighty. Wonder if it's a 4-cylinder. That other one that I filmed had the same engine. Once I realized it was not a Willys Knight. It has the same Chevy engine as that old carcass that sits along my driveway. Of course, I've got that coupe sitting on it. Anyway, see a big old Chevy bow tie down there. Oh, it's pretty cool. There you go, guys. You got the number. Jump all over it. Well, you might say it's a bit foggy up here on Wenatchee Heights today. There's a curve here somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. I was just up here yesterday showing this guy how to collect his graft wood. He called me a while ago and says, "Hey, can you come show me how to collect this graft wood?" I don't know I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of surcharge to charge people who don't listen. maybe there's 20% or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna tell him I can't come up here every day. I've done a lot of work for this guy. I think he's getting senile. One of us is. Either he forgot what I told him, or I forgot I was here yesterday. Wasn't I just up here yesterday showing you how to do this?
Yeah. And
Were you getting senile, or did you wander off from the home? There's probably people looking for you, man.
Yeah.
He snuck out.
I snuck.
Okay, guys. We are officially rained out, so you guys can go ahead and take off. The rest of my crew can take off, go home, take a nap. It's 1:30, and me and Victor, we get to go home and sharpen knives and service chainsaws and cut up wood and load the truck and get ready for the next job. Actually, we got to come back and finish this job tomorrow morning, but it won't take us all day. A couple hours, it'll be done. It's too bad we couldn't do it today, but we battled the rain as long as we could, and it's just time to get out of there. So I'm going to go back in the archives, and I'm going to show you a video that I did for One Lonely Farmer. He wanted to learn how to graft a cherry tree, and that video has become my most watched video of all time. Of the whole 10 years, that video has been watched more than anything else. And not a big deal. It's only a couple 100,000 hits, or well, a little more than that, I guess, maybe 240, or I don't remember. But anyway, it is my most viewed video. So I guess somebody must want to learn how to graft a cherry tree. but it shows in great detail the wedge graft and how to execute that, and kind of shows the skills necessary to do that graft. It's not one you do without practice. It takes a little bit of practice to do that one. All right, see you guys tomorrow. See how it goes. Nice to be inside where it's cozy and catch up on a little clicking and clacking while I'm crack-a-lacking. It's all good. My YouTube friend, one and only farmer, talked about the grafting, and I believe he said that there was a cherry named after his family, and he talked about his grandfather being a grafter, or knowing how to graft, maybe not on a commercial basis, but knowing how to graft, and he found it interesting. So I thought I'd do a demonstration for you this morning, Wes. This particular technique is probably the most difficult to execute, but it is the best way to graft an older cherry tree. The young trees, there are other techniques that can be applied, but these trees behind me are probably 10 years or so, 10 years old, maybe 12. And there's only one way to do them, and I'm going to show you that. It's called a wedge graft. This one takes some practice, and boy, if you can execute this technique, you can do any of them. But you know, if you got 3 trees to do, it's a good thing to do. If you got 30,000 to do, hire somebody. Anyway, I'm going to attempt to do this demonstration. We'll see how it goes. I tried yesterday and the wind was blowing too hard out here, and it just made a horrible video. So we'll give her another shot. First of all, I'll show you the tools I'm going to be using. This is called a sign knife because we're going to be placing signs in the trees. That's spelled S-C-I-O-N. Graft wood or sign wood. And these are the knives we make up for this particular technique, and they have a metal handle, and those are drilled, and I place these blades in there, and then I put a metal rod in there and peen it down on each side and grind it down smooth, and it holds that blade steady, holds it fast. But the thing is, once that graft is placed in the slot, we actually take this knife and use it like a little mallet and pound that graft down into the wedge, so it's got some weight to it. Another tool I use is for this technique is called a wedge knife. That is about a 10-inch butcher knife. We don't use an expensive knife on these because they break the handles out a lot of times. This is a Chicago cutlery. I prefer an old hickory because they're even cheaper. Old hickory, when I first started doing this, cost about $3 for a 10-inch butcher knife. Now I think they're closer to 16 or 20, and that's one of the knives we use with this technique. Another tool that we use for this are these little 2-pound brass hammers. I get these at Harbor Freight, and of course we use brass so that we can drive this knife in and pound on the steel without breaking the blade. Rather, the brass will just chip away instead of the blade chipping away or breaking. So these used to cost $5. I think they're 23 now. But anyway, 2-pound brass hammer, and that one's got some wear on it, you see, because of the way that we drive that knife in. It causes this pattern to wear it, and from time to time we'll take that and put it on, take a grinder and straighten that back up. I've got some brand new hammers over there. The boys are using, they're over on the other side of the field making these wedges. Two guys are making wedges for one grafter. So anyway, to explain what that wedge is, I will bring the camera around a little bit closer, I think, and maybe you'll be able to see this. I hope it will focus. Okay, really going to try to give you a bird's eye view here of what I'm doing. What we do is take this, let me get this screen flipped around so I can see, yeah, if I'm in frame. Okay, what we do is take this knife and bring it up and angle it to one side or the other just a little. I want to pound that in almost the whole thickness of that blade. It's being very careful when I take this out, when I tap it back over the stump, not to hit it from the side, either side, or that blade will snap off right there. But anyway, I'm going to angle this over the other direction now, and I'm going to make sure that I'm crossing that cut down at the bottom. It looks like a little X down there because I want a nice clean cut. I want that chip to come out. And you try your best to make two parallel cuts. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but right here I'm making this was my first cut. I drove it in there, and then I bring it over about 1/2 inch, and I drive that again, making that a parallel cut. Of course, you always aim for the heart. That's where it will want to go. That's the natural place for it to crack, is to go right for the heart. So you're kind of aiming to the center rather than off this way or this way, but then you want two parallel cuts. And I'll go ahead and tap that in. Maybe you see it from this angle, and you can see how far I have it in there. Now the next thing that happened is, it's hard to do this with one hand. Let me get this camera set up again. Now I'm going to take the knife out, and I will check this cut on the back side. And what I'm doing is I'm coming back, exclude the bark, and come back far enough to make this a square. This will be an exact square that comes out. So I will check that on the back. And wedge cutters, that's what they do, and they bring it out about like that and leave the chip in place so that this slot doesn't dry out before the grafter gets to it. And the wedge cutters will go ahead and go around this limb. If this is probably a 7-inch diameter limb, so we'll put maybe 6 grafts on there. The thing is, you want to put these wedges in close enough together. And I'll make another one here. Yeah, that's in frame. Okay. Make another one here. Angle over, 2 parallel cuts. Check it on the back. You want these grafts to be close enough together so that when this starts to heal, it'll bridge between the grafts. This will all heal up here so you don't begin to get dieback between the grafts. And I'm going to set you back up the other direction, or actually off to the side here a bit. The grafter will take his knife and go ahead and just knock that out, and that's why it's called a wedge. It's because it looks like a little wedge. And we'll knock this one out, and that's the wedge. See, that's a nice clean cut in there. And I think I'll try to get the camera set so you can see this one, but first I'm going to show you how I cut the graft. And the art of this, applying this technique, is to be able to look at these angles that I've cut here, and then cut exactly the same angles on this side to fit that. So that's what I've done there. Now those angles are exactly the same as the angles I cut here. But now we have a problem. I'll bring you in closer, show you what we do. Well, first I'm going to go ahead and make should I make my back cut? I think I will. What I'm doing is I'll angle that down a little and show you. I make a tapered cut on the back of that. I'll show you why. Okay, if you look at this, if you look at the sign, I think there's a shade on that. I don't want the shade on it. There we go. Angle this away, get rid of that shade. Okay, if you look at the sign, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm not sure this stays in focus when I bring it in too close, so I'm going to back out here a little bit. There's a dark, kind of a translucent line right there between the whitewood, the hardwood, and between the hardwood and the bark is this little translucent line. It's just less than the width of a pencil mark. And you also have that line in here. inside right in there. There's the hardwood and there's the bark, and right inside is that little line. Okay, those two lines have to touch or match up. People talk about a cambium match, and actually it's a cambium cross, because a match is too easy to miss it. If you were to be out a little too far or in just a hair, it will miss that cambium and it doesn't grow. It has to make contact with the cambium on the sign with the cambium on the tree. So what happens with this back cut, this taper that I put on the back side of that, I can lay that up against the wood. And I'm going to bring the camera just a little to the front. And what happens with this taper on the back of that sign, I can lay that up against the wood. And as that starts to go down, because of that taper, it begins to bring the sign forward in the slot. And as it does, it brings the cambium on this out to touch the cambium on there. And as I tap that down, it continues to bring it forward. And you watch that when it's going in, so that, I mean, the grafter's watching it, and you want the cambium cross to be down near the bottom of this cut so you don't get dieback. There'll be a little bit of dieback occur up here at the top of the cut. So you want to make sure that you're crossing the cambium way down low in that cut, and I tap that down until I know that I've crossed it in just the right place down there. So that's pounded in there and it's tight. It's not going anywhere. Next thing, knock the wedge out and then cut those angles, back cut, tap that in. You drive it in until you have no, what we call shoulders, showing on the outside. We want no exposed cut out here. There's nothing here. Those cuts that I made are driven all the way down into that slot. That cambium crosses, I know this is not going to focus. That cambium cross is way down deep inside there. But if you make those cuts, you'll see that cambium. You'll see what I'm talking about. That little translucent line. And what happens next is you begin to get these cells that are destroyed begin to rebuild, and well, not the ones that are destroyed, but the cells behind them will get to rebuild and start producing these calcing cells. This is healing tissue. Anytime you see a wound on a tree, you see where this cut's been made, and it's built up all this calcing tissue around the outside. And what happens with grafting is, somehow magically, rather than just producing these undifferentiated cells, which is this calcing tissue, these cells begin to differentiate into vascular cells as well, so that it builds up a vein that feeds from the nutrients from the root system up into the sign and forces the bud, and then you get the new variety on top. Hello, puppy. We have a grafting dog here with us this morning. Hi, buddy. Hi, how are you? He's a happy dog. Like Victor said, Victor said he was a happy Mexican yesterday. Okay, that's a little demonstration of the wedge graft. And like I said, it's a little tough. Takes a little practice to be able to look at those angles and then pick up that piece of wood and cut those exact same angles and put them in there. But you know, it's not rocket surgery. After all, I'm doing it. But I've made a living for the past, well, 35 years, I guess, of sharpening sticks and poking them in trees. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.